Hey guys, welcome to episode 10 of Operation PlayStation here for Friday, March 25th, 2022. I'm your host, Dash. This week, we've got a bit to talk about. It's a nice, tight-knit show this week. It's not going to be too lengthy, which is good, because we do have stuff, plenty, to talk about, but it's not going to be dragging on, which is really, really cool. So, this week, we've got news regarding the PlayStation Game Pass service that might be coming out real soon. Apparently, Xbox themselves may have leaked that. Scarlet Nexus Cross Tales of Arise DLC, which is an interesting one, but kind of makes sense seeing as both games came out at the same time there. Haven has been purchased by PlayStation, which is really, really cool. So that's going to be an interesting topic to discuss. And of course, a few reviews that I've been fortunate enough to get my hands on. WWE 2K22. Thanks to the kind folk over at 2K ANZ, and Gran Turismo 7, thanks to the kind folk over at PlayStation Australia, both who provided the review codes on those respectively. Before we jump into any of the news, a bit of housekeeping to get through. Life is Strange, the remastered collection, thanks to the kind folk over at Square Enix, who provided the review code that is now live on Dash Gamer. Gran Turismo 7 review, thanks to the kind folk over at PlayStation. Hogwarts Legacy, a reaction to the state of play that was on, so if you guys want to check that out, that is live on the website. Elden Ring review in progress, thanks to the kind folk over at Bandai Namco. Finally getting a review out on that one, slowly, but it's taken a bit of time to get there. I tell you. Almost 70-something hours in, and I still haven't finished it. Stranger of Paradise, a first look at it, thanks to the kind folk over at Square Enix, who provided a review code. Would love if you guys check that out. And, of course, the written version of my WWE 2K22 review, thanks to 2KNZ, who provided the review code. All right, let's not waste any time. We've got some news to get through, so let's jump into the news. The first bit of news comes by way of Stephen Talby over at Push Square, who says PSN and PS Plus issues slowly being resolved. Is PlayStation Network down? Not anymore. So there was a story out this week, basically that there was a huge outage with the PlayStation Network, and some users weren't able to get in. So basically what had happened was the PlayStation Network had a few hiccups for quite a few days, but this was more international than Australia. But the original story follows as the PlayStation Network is currently having some issues according to a number of users. Online functionality appears to be working okay for us at the moment, but nearly 1,000 players have submitted a report to the website Down Detector in the last couple of hours. At time of writing this, Sony has not acknowledged any server outages, and the official PSN status webpage states that all is working as normal. Some are suggesting that this has something to do with the latest PlayStation firmware updates for the PS5 and as PS4, but nothing is certain just yet. There was an update to this. While PSN is not down for everyone, it seems that Sony is having some real challenges with its servers today. Specifically, there appears to be an issue with regards to PS Plus authentication, rendering games that require a subscription for multiplayer temporarily unplayable. PlayStation Japan has acknowledged the problem, and we imagine other regional departments at Sony will follow. There was a second update to this that says the hiccups affecting PSN today appear to be easing up, with Sony slowly restoring functionality around the world. If you're still having problems, try restarting your console to see if it helps. Now, like I said, there wasn't really any thing to report here in Australia. Everything seems to be working just as normal. But it seemed that it could have been due to the fact that Sony were rolling out the beta of the firmware that we're about to talk about real soon. There's some new functionality that is coming to that firmware, including, pinned games, which is something that I'm going to be talking about. It's a weird rollout, to be honest, on this one. I know that Parties had a bit of an update on it as well. It really is a bit of a weird rollout. It's not kind of your conventional rollout from Sony in terms of a major update, because I would have expected more functionality, including folders. I mean, Nintendo just released a new update this week that includes folders, and that's a PlayStation 4 thing, you know. So I'm not even sure what the hell's happening there. But there was a follow up to this. This one comes by way of Samik Barker over at Push Square, who says, "Did Xbox Game Pass execs just out PS5, PS4's rumored PS Plus reboot?" Microsoft published a corporate puff piece praising its Xbox Game Pass business model. The lengthy roundtable discussion featuring Xbox bigwigs Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond has been released to coincide with the Game Developers Conference, and the content is much what you'd expect. A lot of talk of percentages, numbers, and graphs trending upwards. The general gist, if you don't have 22 minutes to spare, is that subscription models increase sales, improve engagement, and diversify players' tastes. There's a lot of people who would disagree with that, and I know that, like, there's been discussions. I wrote an article about this a year ago that Troy Baker proposed Game Pass almost, it was a decade ago now, and people were like, no, we don't want that. And for me, it was really befuddling that gamers really didn't want that. So I guess things can change. You know, subscription models are better than, having to buy games outright these days, especially in Australia when a game is $120, recommended retail pricing. So anyway, the article goes on, with all this apparent success, it's only a matter of time before other platform holders follow suit. And Bond perhaps knows more about PlayStation's plans than the rest of us. Quote, subscriptions have lowered the barrier for entry and created a whole new market and love for games and gaming experiences that otherwise wouldn't have existed, end quote. She beamed. Quote, it's one of the reasons why I'm excited to see gaming becoming a bigger part of our industry. We have our subscriptions, Sony's announced theirs, and I anticipate other platforms are going to do the same because it's so good for both developers and players, end quote. Now, I think what she might be referring to is the fact that Sony have not really announced it, but have announced an intention to look into it. Jim Ryan has said, we'll look into that when it's time. So I think that there might be some, confusion here, lost in translation there. So I'm not too sure, but anyway, it goes on. Fair enough, Sarah, but to our knowledge, Sony hasn't announced anything. Now, there are a few explanations here. It's perfectly possible Bond simply made a mistake, which is fair enough. It happens to to us all the time. It's also plausible she's referring to existing subscriptions like PlayStation Plus and PS Now. Or potentially she made mistaken rumors about Project Sparticus for some kind of official announcement, or the aforementioned viable explanations. Okay, so I think the announcement that she may be referring to would be the Jim Ryan PS Plus Game Pass rumors that were floating around in about November 2020. But there is one thing here that comes from, and this wasn't even on the doc, but this was about 3 weeks ago. This comes from Spiel Times. Catherine Felix over at Spiel Times says, Project Sparticus, Sony's Game Pass set to launch soon. Anyway, so Sony's PlayStation is yet again competing with Microsoft's Xbox as they prepare to launch their own version of Xbox Game Pass. Dubbed as Project Sparticus, Sony aims to have both classic and modern games as the Game Pass selling point. It's a new and improved version of PlayStation Plus with a wider catalog of games to offer for subscribers. The only difference between PlayStation Plus and Project Sparticus is the new Game Pass will be divided into 3 tiers. $10 per month. So I'm only assuming here this would be in US dollars. $10 per month for Essential, Extra at $13 per month, Premium at $16 per month. The Essential tier will have the features that a normal PlayStation Plus subscription offers. These are the access to online multiplayer functions of games and regular 3 to 4 monthly games subscribers can download. So basically the pre-existing one. Finally, the Premium tier will give... didn't even tell us what the extra... The extra tier will offer the same services as the Essential tier, but subscribers will have access to over 300 titles they can download. That's an interesting one. Finally, the Premium tier will give subscribers access to classic games and cloud streaming The catalog of games involved in the premium subscription is classic titles in the previous PlayStation generations. Subscribers can expect famous titles from PS1, PS2, and PS3 to be included in the premium pass for Project Sparticus. Additionally, premium subscribers have access to game demos before their initial release. Sony President Jim Ryan hinted at Sony's own Game Pass last November when asked about how they will counter Microsoft's Game Pass. Quote, "There is actually news to come, but it's just not today," he told TASS. So that was what I think Sarah Bond was referring to. So Spartacus launch maybe this spring. Are you looking forward to the subscription service? Okay. I have been on Sony's case about this for a little bit. I'm a huge proponent for a Game Pass version of, on PlayStation, basically. I would love to see a Game Pass for PlayStation because, like I said, $120 per title is a lot of money to throw at, and it's just one of those things where you're paying that during a launch period, and I understand that. There's an argument to be made here, though, that at $120 per game, I'd rather be paying a subscription fee of, that $16 a month or whatever it may be, even at that $13 USD a month, which should translate around about close to 20. We're talking about 17, maybe $17 Australian a month. I'll pay that. I'll pay that to get access. It's just one of those things where I would rather pay a subscription fee for those games rather than having them buy them outright. And if they keep rolling them out, like how Xbox do on launch day, Xbox users are paying $10 a month right now, and they get immediate access to first-party titles on launch. And now that Xbox have access to Bethesda, to Activision, to all these studios who are basically developing now under Xbox Game Studios, it's a no-brainer. And honestly, once PlayStation launched their version of Game Pass, Xbox have all the right to negotiate distribution rights under PlayStation, Game Pass or Project Sparticus as well. They can, negotiate some sort of payout or a contract or whatever they want to trickle out titles, whether that be day one or slowly onto that service. It's just money. That's how it works. That's business. And I see that possibly happening. And the way that, they talk about it here, it seems we might be seeing it, very soon. Very soon. So, we'll see what happens anyway. So the next one comes by way of Joe Screbbles over at IGN, who says Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League officially delayed to spring 2023. Okay, so before I begin this, I want to say that I've been looking at the development of this title, and I think it's good that they're delaying this. It needs so much work. This game looks rough from the outside. It looks okay. Graphically, it looks great, but I think it's going to be rough. I think it really is going to be rough. It looks like one of those. The best way to describe it is it's really trying to kind of be an arena shooter, but it's not at the same time. It really does give off that Fortnite vibe, and I don't know how, but not in terms of the way it looks. Graphically, it looks great, but the way it plays, just from looking from the outside, it's just I don't know. There's something about it that doesn't really give off a serious tone to it. And I know that it's the Suicide Squad, so it's not really supposed to be. There's a juxtapose there that there's comedic and gore to the Suicide Squad. Fair enough, but at the same time, it's not. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm not really a big fan of the superhero stuff. But anyway, the story goes, Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League has officially been delayed to spring 2023, confirming previous reports. Creative director Sefton Hill tweeted to confirm what we'd already heard, but adding a spring release window to narrow down when we'll finally get to see the co-op action game's long-awaited release. Quote, "I know a delay is frustrating," he wrote, "but that time is going into making the best game we can. I look forward to bringing the chaos to Metropolis together. Thanks for your patience. The delay will mean that the Suicide Squad game will likely arrive almost 8 years after Rocksteady's last major console game, Batman Arkham Knight, and several after its last game overall, Batman Arkham VR. It's a major slowdown in release for Rocksteady, which made and released the entire mainline Arkham series within 8 years, having started working on Batman Arkham Asylum in 2007. So there were constant leaks and rumors of Rocksteady working on a Superman game, and this is what it kind of turned out to be. But it's not really a Superman game. It's Suicide Squad versus Justice League, and now we're at a point here where they've kind of they've seen how the game kind of is, and even they know, okay, I don't think we're ready yet. I think we seriously need to put a little bit more work into it. And I mean, looking at it right now, it's up on the screen for people who are watching VOD. Looking at it right now, graphically, it's fine. It's okay. And I remember, I'll go back and I recall Batman Arkham, and it was okay again for what it was back then. Not the most graphically polished title on, the platforms that it was available on. This game looks fine. I've seen, I don't know how to put it, but I just feel like there is something off about it from the moment they showed it to the gameplay. So there is a huge, if you notice, there is kind of a huge step down when they go from pre-rendered cutscene to gameplay. And fine, yeah, it's running 60 frames, but it still looks like smudged graphics, smudged textures over some semi-okay modeling. It's not the best looking game. But again, it's one of those things where I'm wondering, how do you control this game even? And why does it look so much like I'm playing a Fortnite title? So I'm pessimistic about it, as I always am about superhero games. I think that might be the Superman 64 effect in me. But I just think that it really does need a little more time in the oven before it's fully baked. So we'll see what happens. I guess, I'm glad that they're delaying. I'm glad that they kind of saw that it needed to be delayed. I'm always happy to hear a delay because regardless of, whether or not I want it now, because that's how games are, I want it now. When a delay rolls in, or when a delay is announced, I should say, then it's good news in a way. It's good news because it means that the developer themselves know that there's an issue and they're not willing to take that risk of just rushing a title to shelves. So kudos to them. We'll wait. We'll see what happens, but who knows what will happen. The next one comes by way of Joshua Henry over at The Gamer, who says Scarlet Nexus and Tales of Arise crossover in a new DLC. Now, I'm excited for this because both Scarlet Nexus and Tales of Arise made it to our to the Dash Gamer Awards 2021 list in our top 5. And albeit neither of them won Game of the Year, they both lost to Ratchet and Clank. They were in the top 3, I believe. So, this is huge because I love both of those games. The article goes on, Bandai Namco has announced a crossover between two of its biggest titles, Tales of Arise and Scarlet Nexus. This crossover will take form of some DLC content for each title. However, the DLC will not be adding any storyline elements or characters to the game. Instead, it will take the form of some weapons and cosmetic accessories. Unlike the Tales of Arise previous crossover with Sword Art Online, this DLC is just adding a cosmetic item and a new weapon. Players can obtain a new sword for Alphen that resembles the Mia Muramasa that Yuito wields in Scarlet Nexus. As for the cosmetic item, it is a rather ridiculous-looking accessory attached to a character's head called the Baki-chan. Whether the accessory adds any attribute or ability to the character is unknown. Meanwhile, over in Scarlet Nexus, players can equip Alphen's Blazing Blade as a weapon for Yuito. Plus, Alphen's broken Iron Mask can be equipped for multiple party members as a cosmetic item. While Tales of Arise DLC is set to be a free add-on, it is unclear if it's the same for Scarlet Nexus. Okay, so if it's one, it'll be the same for the other because it's the same publisher. I don't expect them to charge for this. This is minor. I thought it may have been something like a storyline, but I guess it's just a cosmetic weapon and stuff. That's cool. They're both great titles, but I mean, minor DLC is minor DLC. Good on them, I guess. I mean, that's exciting news for fans, but it's nothing that's major anyway. So the next one comes by way of Stephen Talby over at Push Square, who says, new PS5 firmware update available now, overhauls parties, lets you ping games, and much more. Now, this is where I start critiquing this firmware because I think that PlayStation have kind of dropped the ball on this a little bit. So anyway, the article reads, a little while back, Sony announced a beta for upcoming PlayStation 5 for the upcoming PlayStation 5 firmware update. The major features included some big changes to how parties work, as well as the ability to ping games and apps. Well, this firmware update version 22.01-05.00.00 to be precise. Why couldn't they just go back to the normal ones like version 4. Whatever? Anyway, is available right now. The update is just over 1 GB in size. The patch notes are pretty big, so let's go through all the major features here. I'm going to skim it because it is quite a long patch list. So, first up, yes, game base and parties had an overhaul. Game base is now divided into 3 sections: friends, parties, and messages, with parties now referring to voice chats. Your friends list is now filed under the Friends tab for easy access, and friends requests and search are now found here too. It also looks like it'll be much easier to initiate share play with a group. 6 new languages are now supported with the screen reader function, including Russian, Arabic, Dutch, Brazilian, Portuguese, Polish, and Korean. Ukrainian language support has been added across the board. Trophies have been given a refreshed look, with trophy cards and trophy lists given a more colorful look. Additionally, the trophy tracker can now suggest trophies for you to earn while playing the game. There's a typo here. It says you're to earn. Voice command can now be enabled, letting you say, hey, PlayStation, followed by command. So pretty much like how if you had the PlayStation camera hooked to your TV and you said, hey, PlayStation, it would activate it. But now, obviously, I think it'll go through the controller microphone. That's pretty cool. The next one is there's still plenty more. In the games library, you can now filter by genre in your collection tab. The PS Plus app is now pinned to the leftmost side of the home screen for easy access, which is usually where that little rocket is that kind of sends you to the PlayStation Store, I believe. Speaking of pinning, you can now pin up to 5 games or apps to the home screen by highlighting an icon and selecting Keep in Home from the options menu. Also, the icon ribbon now allows for 3 more games or apps to be shown. There's one more thing here. The DualSense PS5 controller also has a new software update, so make sure you get those updated as well. You have to plug those into your PlayStation. I still can't believe they don't have wireless update like Xbox. Okay, here's my gripe, and I'm pretty sure it's the same as everybody. We need folders back because there are a lot of people who have updated their hard drives on their PlayStation, or install new solid-state drives on their PlayStation. And they have a lot of onboard games, digital games that they would love to, store and access from the home screen, not always have to go to installed games or the games library. Pretty much, I'm talking, they need to bring back what they had on PlayStation 4. It is a pain in the ass to always have to look for a game in the games library. I would love to be able to folder my games again. If Nintendo just brought out a firmware update that did this, that mimics the PlayStation 4's folder, a theme, basically, the themes that, they had on PlayStation 4, I don't know why Sony themselves can't bring it back. If anything, I still prefer the PlayStation 4 home screen because the icons were clear, they were big, they were there, the folders were also there, you could see what was inside those folders. I would love it if PlayStation brought that back because the PlayStation home screen can be a mess, a big pain in the ass to get through. and it's confusing as hell, especially for people who are used to switching off their console by holding down a PlayStation button and just pressing power and off. Those kind of things there, the small touches and everything else that were perfect on PlayStation 4. Yeah, users can get used to it on PlayStation 5, however you have it. Yeah, fine. But if you synergize this, if you keep it the same, people won't complain after, because then afterwards they're familiar with what the format is. Yeah, people like new stuff, but at the same time, familiarity is fine. And keeping things as similar as possible is great, especially for users who prefer it like that. Right now, it's too much of a mess to get through the UI. It really is. You have to press up to get to settings. Where's the settings tab? Where do I go here? It is a headache. So how do I disable the HDCP on this? How do I do anything on this right now? It is so confusing. And, I can't say that Xbox are doing any better. The only thing that they're doing better right now is the fact that you can update your controller wirelessly. But you can't do that on PlayStation? Come on. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents. There's my little rant. We're going to move on to the next one. The next one comes by way of Sammy Barker over at Push Square, who says dozens of new PS5, PS4 games from Ubisoft allegedly outed. As many of us realized several years ago, E3 is dead. Yeah, they're right. E3 hasn't done anything for the industry for a long time anyway. While organizers ESA continue to dilly-dally over the ongoing relevance of the obviously defunct convention, publishers are plotting their own independent alternatives. One of those companies allegedly is Ubisoft, as per industry know-it-all Tom Henderson writing for Xfire. Apparently, the French publisher is preparing a juggernaut showcase, which will potentially include updates on almost 20 different games. There's no word on when this will take place. It sounds like world events could play a big part in that. But this being Ubisoft, knowledge of the event isn't the only news. Henderson also has his mucky mitts on the chunks of the running Order 2. So what can we expect then? Well, firstly, there's the usual suspects. Skull and Bones, Beyond Good and Evil 2, that Rabbids crossover starring a certain pipe plugger in the dungarees. So basically, Mario cross Rabbids. But then there's more juicy stuff, like a third entry in the Crew series. Heaven knows that the PlayStation 5 could do with more arcade races. Man, he must have been in a mood when writing this, and a sequel to Immortals Phoenix Rising. How about this as well? Ubisoft Montpellier, I'm guessing that's how you pronounce it. The Rayman Legends team is allegedly working on a brand new Prince of Persia, which has been inspired by modern 2D titles like Ori and the Blind Forest. That sounds sumptuous. Excuse me, that's a different way to say it. Okay, that sounds sumptuous. And don't worry, the oft-delayed Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake hasn't been canned, not yet. Anyway, God, that game needs to be canned so bad. It looks so horrendous. Elsewhere, titles like The Division, Heartland, and XDefiant are likely to feature, and there's even speculation that a small-scale Assassin's Creed spin-off codenamed Rift could appear during the showcase as well. Henderson cautions that not every in-development project may be ready for prime time, but clearly the French publisher has a lot to talk about. To be honest, it all makes sense. Obviously, the original title is a little wishy-washy because it isn't entirely sure when the presentation will take place. Okay, so I'll say that the presentation will take place during supposed quote-unquote E3 time, which is June. A lot of these companies tend to do that. They tend to say, okay, we're getting a independent show ready and everything else, and then they kind of join the lineup at E3. Whether or not it's a digital show, whether or not this year, well, they've already confirmed it. E3 this year is all digital once again. And there is no doubt that Ubisoft will be there. Same as EA, same as Nintendo, same as PlayStation, or if PlayStation shows up again this year at all, and same with Xbox. So it's again one of those things where, okay, this is all fine and dandy, but what else have they got on their plate? So we've got Skull and Bones, Beyond Good and Evil 2. The Mario Kart Rabbids crossover again. Immortals Phoenix Rising sequel sounds awesome. The Crew 3 sounds okay. I mean, Crew 2 was fantastic over the Crew 1 for sure. The new Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake I don't even know why they're bothering. That can just be cancelled. Like, that game looks terrible. Unless they're looking to remake it from the ground up properly, just cancel the thing, please. The Division Heartland, I'm excited over. I really like the Division, so I would love to play it. Smaller scale Assassin's Creed spin-off codenamed Rift is I'm very I don't know. I don't really know about that one. That one sounds weird, but I'll be interested to see. They got my curiosity. I'll put it that way. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to say the least. But the Prince of Persia, inspired by Ori and the Blind Forest, it being if it being a Metroidvania-like title, then I'd be down for it. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I guess it's interesting, but I mean, this just pretty much confirms that Ubisoft have plans for E3, and that's what I believe. So kudos, good on them. That's awesome. I think that was to be expected because Ubisoft don't miss an E3 anyway. So the next one comes directly from the PlayStation blog. This one comes by way of Herman Holst over at the PlayStation blog, who says, "Welcome Haven Studios to the PlayStation Studios family. Montreal-based studio's first IP for PlayStation is a AAA multiplayer experience." So, the head of PlayStation Studios, Herman Holst, says, "Today I'm delighted to announce that Haven Studios is officially joining PlayStation Studios. Jade Raymond brings a wealth of experience from her industry achievements and an infectious passion for creating games. And the leadership team at Haven is an equally impressive group of industry veterans who have collaborated on some of the biggest and most beloved games and franchises that many of us still enjoy today. We began working with Jade and her team in early 2021. When they were on the brink of announcing the formation of Haven Studios. From their first pitch, we were inspired by Haven's vision for creating a modern multiplayer experience that brings gamers together in positive and meaningful ways. We were confident in their creative and technical expertise to deliver on such an ambitious project, and were thrilled to invest in their journey developing a new original IP for PlayStation. We've had the privilege of working closely with Haven this past year and have been impressed by the studio's growth and progress. So now, practically on the anniversary of when we made our partnership official, it's especially exciting to formally welcome them into the PlayStation family. We can't wait to see what the future holds for Haven Studios." I think it's fantastic. There is a statement here from Jade Raymond as well. It goes, "1 year ago this month, we embarked on a journey to start Haven Studios with a small team and big ambitions. Our goal was to build a studio where we could make the kind of games we've always wanted to create and games we've longed to play. We've made amazing progress in a short time thanks to our talented, passionate team and their exceptional contributions. We established a culture at Haven grounded in kindness, adaptability, and courage that unlocks creativity. Our first new IP for PlayStation is on track to deliver a AAA multiplayer experience with vision to build a systemic and evolving world focused on freedom, thrill, and playfulness that will keep players entertained and engaged for years. Today, the Haven team begins a new phase of our journey as part of the PlayStation Studios family. Working with Herman, Connie Booth, and the team at PlayStation over the past year has been a career highlight. Sony Interactive Entertainment is a supportive partner that truly understands the creative process and what it takes to make a blockbuster AAA game. They have empowered and encouraged us to bring our bold vision to life and make our dreams come true, and we could not be more thrilled about this opportunity to strengthen our partnership. As a SIE first-party studio, we will have the opportunity to collaborate with some of the world's most renowned development teams, including studios like Guerrilla, Naughty Dog, Media Molecule, and Insomniac Games, the creators of games that have inspired us as players and developers for years. We're excited to learn from these world-class studios, as well as the exceptional central creative technology and marketing teams whose expertise will enable us to deliver even better games to players. To our Haven team, a huge thank you. It's been one of the most rewarding years of my career, and to the players out there, we can't wait to share more. We're just at the beginning of what is sure to be a wondrous adventure that will span generations. Cool. This is awesome news. Jade Raymond is... Look, she's done tremendous work, and I am excited to see what she's in for with PlayStation. So, we're talking like Far Cry 4, Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed. She's worked from the first Assassin's Creed down as well. Up or down, whatever. I believe she also worked on Blacklist, which is one of my favorite Splinter Cell games. Albeit that, people are like, oh, they got rid of Michael Ironside. The game's awesome. So, yeah, she, her works with Ubisoft was, fantastic. She started her career at EA. Her last major title was with EA, which was Battlefront 2, if I'm not mistaken. So, it's fantastic to see that she's, coming back to this. This is going to be something that I think she's going to be an excellent leader, an excellent head developer. I think that this is going to be just the first step, and especially with PlayStation backing Haven like this, I'm really excited. I'm really, really excited to see what they have in store. Now, this is where I kind of step back and go, okay, you've announced Haven. You've announced Haven now for quite a bit. Let's now talk about what you guys have planned. And whether or not, I don't want to rush things here. I don't want to turn around and be like, well, where's the Haven game? Because I think that's going to become a meme if, something doesn't happen soon. Because then it'll be like, well, they purchased Haven. Where's the Haven game? So I think that it's going to be one of those things where we're going to have to be patient here. It's going to be one of those things that we're definitely going to have to be patient, because I don't think they're going to be having any news on the Haven game for possibly another year or so. But when they do, I bet it's going to be exciting. So I'm really excited to see what comes out of that. The final piece of news comes by way of Sammy Barker over at Push Square. Hopefully he's in a better mood when he wrote this. Who says, Gran Turismo 7 PS5, PS4 user score, the lowest in PlayStation exclusive history. And we're talking about Metacritic here. And it's disappointing. Anyway, let's go on. The original story reads, and I'm only going to read a little bit of it, and then I'm going to read the update, and then I'm going to give my thoughts. So, the reception to Gran Turismo 7 was overwhelmingly positive up until this week, but a series of unforced errors have prompted the reputation of the simulation racer to plummet. Following a patch which adjusted the release in-game currency payouts and ultimately broke the game, fans have been taking to sites like Metacritic to review bomb the title. At the time of writing this, it commands 2.5 out of 10 user score, with many of the harsher appraisals arriving in the past few days. Quote, if you are a casual player like me, you are fucked. One person wrote, quote, microtransactions are present and some cars are impossible to buy without real money or insane grind. You cannot play the game without an internet connection. Another user said, quote, so the cars you cannot afford in real life are not affordable in this shit game as well. Don't buy any more Gran Turismo 7 and let them know what they will lose, end quote. This is a reference to series creator Yamauchi's recent statement in which he said he wants the price of in-game cars to reflect their, quote, value and rarity in real life. I had a little bit to say in the review. Anyway, let's read the update. In the update, it says here, Gran Turismo 7 has achieved the unfortunate accolade of having the lowest Metacritic user score in Sony exclusive history. The score of 2.2, which is still falling, puts it below the likes of Cool Boards 2001 on PS1. It's a sharp message from fans and presumably some trolls that Polyphony Digital has work to do. I think this is a good time to roll into the reviews. So thanks to the kind folk over at PlayStation Australia, I got to check out Gran Turismo 7 and review it. The review is now live up on dashgamer.com, so I'd love it for you guys to go and check that out. Now, I want to talk a little bit about it and some of the gripes I indeed had, which did include the fact that there is a little bit of pay to win in this. Microtransactions are essentially killing the fun and joy out of games these days, and I know that, you know, it's there to kind of help development teams in a way. If you really kind of think about it, it's a subscription. You know, when you throw out a Twitch subscription or, you know, a Patreon subscription to something, you're essentially giving these development teams, or publishers I should say, money. Now, it's not as all clean cut as as the aforementioned subscription services that I mentioned. You know, like the cuts in there's plenty of them, and some of them go to PlayStation, some of them go to the publisher, some of them go to the developer. You know, it really, it's not all like, okay, this part. It's all contractual. It's an obligation that, you know, is put in there by, you know, if anything, PlayStation Studios, who's the publisher, that they want, you know, some microtransactions in the game to take place and all that jazz. Now, it really is. We're at a point, you know, like I said this in a review, that even Forza, which is the direct competitor right now to Gran Turismo 7, has microtransactions, and there's nothing much you can do about it because, like, it's there. But are they in your face in Forza? Not really. Not as bad as this. Gran Turismo 7 really kind of put a lot of microtransaction and pay to win, and also just a general tendency to have to grind to unlock cars right at the forefront. And it really kind of made... there's a deterrent there. There is a huge deterrent there. It made me feel like I was playing it to not essentially like enjoy my time racing, but to have to earn cars. Like, Gran Turismo has always been about that in a way. It's always been about, you know, unlocking cars in game and all that kind of stuff. But the fact that it's kind of gotten to a point now where it's not only you unlocking cars, but you can pay with real money for cars that are basically expensive. That it's there's an argument there to be made that they shouldn't, like, it shouldn't be like that at all. Gran Turismo has prided itself on being a real driving simulator. Well, it's now getting to the point where not only is it real, we're getting, like, monetarily real here. Like, people are going to have to start paying to actually have cars to win. No. Like, that's a big no-no for me. However, let me swing it out to the positives here. Gran Turismo 7 is honestly the best Gran Turismo game that Polyphony has put out in such a long time. Gran Turismo 6 was great. Gran Turismo 5 was great. 4 was fine, you know, and I'm wrong back here. But the best one was obviously the first and the second. But after that, it kind of fizzled a little bit. And then Forza started picking up a lot of momentum afterwards. And a lot of people were like, I think Forza is on top right now. It's the king of racing. And it really is. I still, like, even after Gran Turismo 7 has come out, I can still sit back and confidently say that Forza is still better. But to actually have a proper racer on PlayStation now, it's satisfying. It's satisfying, to say the least. We've been asking for something like this for a very long time. When PS4 launched, that we had Drive Club, it didn't do anything for racing fans. It really didn't. We had Drive Club. We had Assetto Corsa come out, which is multi-platform. We had Project Cars, which I think started out as a PlayStation exclusive, then became multi-platform, and Project Cars 2. It really, I sat here and I thought to myself, Gran Turismo has actually come back. Like, it's made a huge comeback in number 7. But there's still a lot of work to do here. There is so much. Like, it runs smoothly, you drive smoothly, you have a lot of fun playing it. And, you know, it really brings back kind of like a lot of the aspects that we know and love about that kind of made Gran Turismo what it was. It gave it an integrity. It gave it an identity. You know, and you see it up on the screen right now in the VOD. You kind of have the overworld map where you can go to, you know, buy a car, earn your license, get a grade, then actually enter rallies, international rallies, and all that kind of stuff. They've made it a little simpler now, which is good, because back, you know, in the day, you fail your license, you got to do it like 20 times. It was ridiculous. But these days, it's a lot more simple now, because I believe that a lot of players would have been turned off by how it used to be. But the fluff that's in this is insane as well at the same time. There's a lot of dialogue that just keeps going on and on. You're seeing it on the screen, right? There's a lot of it. You know, I better not look at the screen because this dialogue made me... So there's... Yeah, anyway, if you saw my first impressions, you'll understand what I'm saying. But anyway, the point is that there's a lot of fluff. There's an 8-minute unskippable intro cutscene. What the hell? You know, that is not needed. Unnecessary. Should be patched out. Should at least have a patch that allows users to skip that, because that was ridiculous. Anyway, the point is that there's a lot of integrity that's put into Gran Turismo that has now come back, that they missed in GT Sport. GT Sport was there to kind of... I feel like GT Sport was there to kind of put out the feelers if people really cared about Gran Turismo, where people were like, where the frick is Gran Turismo? Why do we not have a mainline entry? And so they were like, well, let's see if people care about Gran Turismo. It's like, yeah, people did. People cared a lot. They bought that game, but they were like, this is not what I wanted. Where's Gran Turismo? So I believe that they've, you know, made a strong comeback in Gran Turismo 7. Do I believe that it's a strong enough comeback for them to be like, well, we can keep going the way we're going? Yes and no. Yes, in the vein that it's a fantastic racer. They've done a spectacular job in presentation. The game runs incredibly well. It feels sensational when you're playing with the DualSense as well. It gives off a lot of sensations that, you know, normally you wouldn't have felt in prior generations. Obviously, that DualSense is really a game changer. So, and you know, I'm talking like in nearly every game that you play on PlayStation 5, including Gran Turismo 7. And now we're at we're at this point. We're at this crossroads now of, do we continue? Does Polyphony continue this same evolvement of Gran Turismo? And the answer to that is half. Yeah, it's a 50-50. Yes and no. No to these microtransactions. Just keep it. You know, look? If you want DLC, put it out there. That's fine, but not pay to win. That is grimy. It's grimy. I detest pay to win. I detest microtransactions, because they put them out there. They're like, oh yeah, you know, it's DLC. No. There's a difference between DLC, additional content, and forced content. There's a lot of forced content here that players have to pay to win, and it morally, it's wrong. So for me, I sit here and you know, I loved playing it, but no way in hell was I going to pay for any cars. And I even said it in my review in one of the in one of my highlights that I do there. I said it as a negative. There is no chance I am buying a car with real money in this game. It's just like, I don't even do it in Forza. In Forza, I have the choice of when I buy a launch copy. I mean, there's a premium version of this game. The 25th anniversary version is available as well, but it doesn't come with like all these microtransaction features and all that kind of stuff. Forza come out with 3 tiers of their game each time. They come out with, you know, the regular, the gold, and the premium. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but it's always a 3-tiered release. And I always go for the top tier because it comes with everything that I want. And there's no forced microtransactions thrown at you. It's just done. You buy the premium, you get everything. And that's fantastic. If they did it here, then I would have been like, okay, cool. similar to Forza. That's a great formula. But they didn't. And it makes me question what the hell Polyphony are doing in that circumstance. What PlayStation are allowing there. So I don't know. It's a mixed bag. It really is a mixed bag at the moment. Gran Turismo 7 is an excellent racer, but it has issues. And I'm talking not performance issues. I'm talking features, facets that need to be reconsidered. Because right now, to force players to pay to win, you ain't convincing anyone that Gran Turismo is the king of races right now. So that's just my honest opinion. That's how it is. Once again, thanks to the kind folk over at PlayStation who provided the review code. You can check out the full written review right now up on dashgamer.com. PlayStation. All right, thanks to the kind folk over at 2K ANZ. I have been playing WWE 2K22 almost non-stop, to be honest. This game is excellent. Like, excellent. And I am enjoying it a lot. So, here's the deal. And I'm going to have to make mention of it. 2K20 was an absolute commercial disaster for both, 2K and Visual Concepts. They have done a phenomenal job of basically stripping down what was the problem in Ukes and what was happening with the original framework of WWE 2K, and have now done an absolutely tremendous job in fixing it all. Now, I'm not going to say it's still completely polished and there's not any glitches or bugs or anything like that. There's almost none. I haven't experienced any, to be honest. Maybe one or two that kind of nothing monumental, nothing major that made me go, ooh, nothing that broke the game at all. This is an excellent wrestling game. From presentation to gameplay to graphics to just the show itself. Like, the big buzz of a WWE show. The creative aspect of it as well. In terms of creating your own show, creating a wrestler, creating graphics. Like, I've never seen customization like this before. You can create your own freaking Titantron. You can create, you could do it in previous games, but I'm talking like depth here. Download graphics of AEW wrestlers and chuck them on the Titantron. I know it's the bad word to say during a WWE review. Ooh, AEW. But anyway, the point is that it's that depthly that you can create those. This is a custom WrestleMania arena. This is supposed to be WrestleMania this year that you're seeing on screen right now. And I downloaded it, and it looks spectacular. I've never seen people be able to do, to create things in such quality. It looks monumental. It looks monumentally better than WWE 2K20, 2K19, and past iterations. They have done a great job. There are little things that happen on screen that did not occur in prior iterations of the title. Right now you're seeing Roman Reigns, if you're watching the VOD, the Roman Reigns entrance as Universal Champion with Paul Heyman accompanying him. Paul Heyman walking around with the belt in the air. You never had a manager do these kind of things in an entrance before. The managers always come out and do the ha 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 and clap and clap and clap. They never had the belt off the character before given to a manager. That is insane. This is a big change. These little things make it look great, make it feel real, get the excitement of actually watching professional wrestling. And I love it. So, I don't know, man. So far, I'm having such a ball playing this game. The thing is, I've played a lot of it, and I'm talking a lot. I've done the showcase, which is phenomenally done. Love playing the Rey Mysterio showcase, from his WCW days, which to me is huge because I was a big WCW kid. Seeing a 1997 model of Eddie Guerrero was definitely something. It was definitely something for me to see, like to be able to play that, bear witness, and kind of have that nostalgia hit as a kid who watched that pay-per-view live. It was great. It was great to kind of experience that, and also run through Rey Mysterio's career. Fantastic. Then you have the general manager mode, which is something else. Like, I would watch Up, Down, Down's GM mode weekly. I loved it. My favorite series with Austin Creed and Tyler Breeze going head-to-head, one running Raw, one running SmackDown, and yeah, it was one of my favorite series. And I love the GM mode as well. It really kind of feels like, you're playing that fantasy football, but in wrestling. So I have to say, like, most of these things that they've kind of stripped away and brought back and reinvented are fantastic. They've really done a great job. Now, those are the small things. Now, when we get into the gameplay part of it, the things that have changed there as well. The ring itself is now proportion. It's scaled down and in proportion to what a wrestler looks like in a ring. It's no longer you're wrestling on a football field size of a ring. The ring is actually proper size. Camera angles look like you're watching WWE on TV. It's not, the one fixed hard cam on the front and kind of zooming in, zooming out, even though they kind of do that themselves. But it's not the one fixed camera that goes, in and out to kind of pan in and see what everything's going on. No, it actually looks like legitimate camera work is happening in this game. Something that was in dire need of happening, especially like while Ukes was developing this title. It now feels like, it almost feels like the days of old when, you play No Mercy. And when you were playing No Mercy, you kind of had the ring be a proper size. You'd be able to leave the ring. And you know what the great thing is? It's not a jumble of buttons that you have to kind of mash to understand where you're going, what you're doing. It's very seamless. Very seamless now. You basically run in, run out of the ring quite easily with weapons or whatever that you might want to use. Even just wrestling itself in the matches too, there's this ease of grappling your opponent and kind of like tossing them over the top rope. Irish whipping them, as you can see. Irish whipping them, also just hitting, landing rights and lefts as well, kicking them, hitting suplexes. There's something about 2K22 that the title says it hits different, and it does. It really does. I feel like they've done a magnificent job in just reconfiguring the formula, because there is a lot of the original that is still evident and still there. They haven't touched too much of it. They haven't gone, okay, let's just redo the entire thing. Because if they did, a lot of people would have been confused by what the hell was going on. But this is different. The formula now has changed just enough to make it fresh, bold, new, exciting, and the game doesn't crash. So, like, what else can you ask for? The game hasn't crashed on me at all. Game loads like wildfire as well. Like, it just kind of, you click and it's there and it's ready. And that's the great thing about running it on next gen hardware as well. So I have to praise 2K for what they've done here. This is really a major step forward, and this is how WWE games should be going forward. I know there were rumors at the moment that 2K may be stepping back from doing WWE games, which is confusing as all hell, seeing as 2K22 might be the best version of the SmackDown franchise, because that's really what it is. It's the SmackDown franchise in a long time. But this has been a 2 thumbs up from me. Like, this is excellent. An excellent addition to the WWE 2K22 lineup. So I definitely, if you were to ask me, should I get it? Yes. As a fan, yes. This is one that I would highly recommend. Yeah. Make sure you check out our full written review over on dashgamer.com. It's fantastic. Has a freaking phenomenal roster on it as well. The only issue right now with that is there are a lot of wrestlers on this roster that have either been released by now or aren't active in the industry right now. So that's the only downside to this, is that there's a lot of wrestlers that have jumped ship to AEW. And also some cosmetic changes have been made to some of the active superstars right now. So it happens. What can you do? That's just how the industry is. You know, big whoop. You still have Keith Lee in the game. Are you going to complain about it? And you can download Cody if he comes in at WrestleMania. What can you do? But yeah, once again, huge thanks to huge thanks to 2K NZ for allowing me to review WWE 2K22 on PS5. All right, guys, time for the drop. This week is a bit of a shorter list, thankfully. Thankfully, it's a shorter list. But this is the lineup on PlayStation that is coming out for the next 2 weeks. So from today, Ghostwire Tokyo is out on PS5, March 25th. Tiny Tina's Wonderland is out on PS4 and PS5, March 25th. Then Ikai on March 29th, PS4 and PS5. Crusader Kings on PS5 from March 29th. Agent Intercept on PS4 and PS5, March 30th. Weird West on PS4, March 31st. Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga on April 5th. Chrono Cross, the Radical Dreamers edition on April 7th. And that's the drop for the next 2 weeks. A lighter drop than usual, but there are a couple of bangers there. Ghostwire Tokyo and Tiny Tina, which is out today. So make sure that you guys check those out. I'll definitely have a review of Ghostwire Tokyo real soon on the website. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that one. Guys, if you didn't know, this has been Operation PlayStation, Gamer.com's dedicated PlayStation podcast, where we dive deep and dirty and discover what the latest and greatest PlayStation have to offer in 2022. I think I may have said 2021 at the beginning of the episode, but forgive me. If you like what you heard, make sure that you follow us over on Anchor, iTunes, and Spotify. It's Apple Podcasts now. Anyway, give us those cheeky 5-star ratings. They'll surely help us out. And also catch the VOD over on dashgamer.com and on YouTube. Subscribe, hit that bell. Give us a like, leave us a comment. It surely helps us out. I'll be back in another 2 weeks. But until then, this operation is complete.
dashgamer.com